Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is Mike Kollin at MikeKollin.com. We are manifestors. Okay, so I told you about the two guys I met at the park today watching the solar eclipse. Their names are Steve and Roger. So if you guys see this, just want to say a shout out. So two interesting, very interesting characters. Good guys, good people, good hearts, and they are in alignment with what we're doing here on this channel as well. So the most surprising thing is, as they began to talk, it was Roger. He talked the most, but his brother added to it also. But he just kept going on and on about all this stuff we talked about on my channel, spiritual stuff, and I was kind of nodding that he kind of was looking like, oh yeah, he's not really into it, or he's not believing me. And I had to really let him, like, no, I'm totally into what you're saying. He goes, really? And I was like, no, I got everything you're talking about. I put on my YouTube channel. He's like, oh, so that's when he started going, like he started to realize, like, oh, you understand what we're saying, like, yeah. So I'm going to share a few things that we talked about that they brought up. One thing in particular was the way he described something that I've described, but the way he described it just hit home, and I'm going to share that with you on here. Okay, so what I'm talking about is being a manifestor. So most of you on my channel, unless you're a narcissist, you are a manifestor. And now, okay, I know that sounds weird, or it sounds like, oh, okay, Mike, sure. But when he explained this, I was like, oh, they're going to get it. Because it even hit me to where, like, yes, like, I get it now, even on a much deeper level. We literally are manifestors. Another way of explaining that is we're like a generator. We generate this. So one of the first things I had pointed out is, like, I noticed about a week ago. I noticed it last year, but really this last week it just hit me. The sun is not yellowish. So in the mornings it's kind of an orangish, the evenings it's kind of an orangish, but during the day it's kind of always had like a yellowish hue to it, but that's gone. It is bright. It's like crystal clear white. So sure enough, they jumped right in, like, yep, that's absolutely what's going on. They see it too. So we just like hit it off on so many different levels. Honestly, I finally felt like I was talking to people who knew what was going on. Okay, because with most people, I just kind of bite my tongue, like, okay, whatever, man. So here's one of the things I noticed. So before I went over to that side of the park to catch some sun, I was talking with a guy who drives one of those AAA. It wasn't a tow truck, but it's a little van that drives around. They can kind of fix your car or jump start it, etc. So that guy was like taking a break, and I was talking to him, and I mentioned the sun. He wasn't quite with it, but then I noticed as we were looking for because it was like within range, like 10:15 was when it was supposed to start, and it was about 10:25. I'm like, where the hell is the moon? Like, it's not even showing. It's not even close to the sun yet. Now, I've been through a couple eclipses, and one was in Wisconsin in I don't know, it was 77 or 78, or in the 70s, maybe even 1980. I don't remember exactly when it was, but we took the school let us take the day off, and they walked us all over to, I think it was to the library, and then we got, it was a safe place for us to, watch it, and they gave us all these like sunglass things, etc., etc. And I very clearly remember seeing the moon get closer and closer to the sun before it interjected with the sun. So I also remember, I believe there was at least one other time when I was, even if it was a partial eclipse, I was like, yeah, well, you see that the moon, it's like, it's dark because it's closer to the sun. Sun's behind it, and you can see it getting darker and darker as it gets close to the sun. And I didn't see a moon at all. And so this may be because I was, on the West Coast in California. We only got like a partial. I think they said it was like 43% or 34%. So it wasn't the full solar eclipse. So maybe that's why I don't really know. So Roger and his brother Steve chimed in when I shared that. I was like, hey, have you noticed you can't actually see the moon? And they're like, yeah, because I remember before it was big, you could see it. It was, and then even when they put the sunglasses on me, when it was getting close to the sun, it was tiny. You could barely freaking see it. And it was only when it started to enter the sun's space and the sun was directly behind it that you could see it. Whereas I distinctly remember years ago, you could see the moon as it was getting closer and closer to the sun. So Roger and Steve definitely had their theories on what was really going on, etc. So I just thought it was odd. So they had some more in depth, which I'm not going to go over on this now. But I just wonder if any of you noticed that. Alright, so it's about 10:35. I've been out here for about 25 minutes, 20 minutes, and I don't see any solar eclipse. So they said it's supposed to start at 10:15 in the Bay Area, maybe a little bit later in the North Bay. So I'm not seeing nothing. So I don't understand why. Normally I think you'd see, I know we're only going to get a partial here. So it's basically 10:15 to I think it was 11:15 or 11 something, 11:25, something like that. So I'll wait a little bit longer and see what happens, if anything. Okay, so what I found out about 10 minutes later when I went and hung out with Roger and Steve, they gave me the glasses. You could only see it when you had the glasses on, whereas I distinctly, and the other one I do remember was in San Francisco. I don't remember, it was a while back. I'm going to say 10 years ago, I don't know. But it was a while back. And I didn't need the glasses to see it, so I don't know why even with the glasses, it was tiny. So I don't understand why it was so different. Okay, so now I have walked over to these guys. I didn't know it at first, but they told me their names a few minutes later, Roger and Steve. Alright, so this guy next to me, there's two guys, they look like twins, but they're brothers. One of them has those special glasses on. He said there's a little disc going across. So here's the weird thing, and he pointed it out, and this is what I've been thinking too, is why can't we see the moon next to it? Because normally when the moon starts going up and getting close to the sun in the past, because I've seen a couple eclipses, you can see the moon even if it's only a partial eclipse, right? So I'm not seeing nothing. The other guy has those special glasses on. So I'm going to change this a little bit, see if it does anything. Yeah, I don't see nothing. So anyways, yeah, that's kind of weird. So he gave me a little bit of a conspiracy theory. He says there really is no moon or sun, and that's something from the North and South Pole that's projected out there. I don't know. I haven't heard that one. But regardless, so it's about 10, I just checked 10:35, so about 10:36, 10:37 right now. We should be seeing something, but we're not seeing nothing. Alright, I'll be back in a minute. Right.
So that's how it works. And many of your presidents were 33rd degree Freemasons. Many of your top businessmen were.
I know, right?
Our tribes are connected.
Let's see right there. Yes, I agree with you. So here's the interesting thing. I'm talking to these two guys, and they're 100% on track with what I've been teaching on my YouTube channel. And we didn't see the moon coming across like we normally would, so hopefully it's seeing through his. I'm doing it through his sunglasses. All right, so I'm using some sunglasses with that filter. I don't know if it's working on my phone, if I can get it close enough. So I'll know when I put it on the computer. So that's the best I can do. So hopefully you guys are seeing it. And these two guys are blowing me away. Everything I talk about on my YouTube channel, they're talking about. These are the first guys I've ever met. So Roger took a picture with his phone and he sent it to me. So this is the eclipse in California. Okay, so this is me trying it again with my phone. You can barely see the eclipse on the bottom. And here's another picture. And again, you can barely see the eclipse on the very bottom of it.
We never saw the moon approaching the sun, and we're not going to see any moon leaving the sun in the sky.
Right. All right. There, I'm getting it. Got it zoomed in all the way. I think I'm getting it. I don't know.
Okay, so we were out there for about an hour or more just talking about everything, theory, psychology, NLP, what's going on the planet. And a couple interesting things came up. Now, they didn't say it like this, but I'm going to say it right now. We are manifestors, and I'm going to prove it. So he brought up this phrase from the Bible. So for where 2 or 3 gather in my name, there am I with them. Matthew 18:20. So he was talking about how I'm going to use his terminology, the elites, what they do is they'll make a movie about what they want to happen. So the first time that I noticed this and caught it was when I was going through my big awakening. I mean, it was huge. It was when I was 28 years old. So he said the way they do it is they will make a movie about what they want to see happen. I'm like, okay. And what happens, he goes, you got to understand, we are the manifestors. I'm like, what do you mean? He goes, well, you remember the phrase where it says, for where 2 or 3 gather in my name, there am I will be with them? I'm like, yeah. So he goes, what they do, he goes, we're the manifestors. We have the energy to manifest anything. I'm like, okay. He goes, so what they do is they'll make a movie about, something blowing up or like that. What is that one cartoon called? It's like a TV show for adults at night. And they did a show about Kobe Bryant, the professional basketball player, dying in a helicopter crash, which ended up happening like a year later or 2 years later or whatever. And he goes, haven't you ever noticed that you'll see a movie or TV show about something or a cartoon, and then sure enough, 6 months, a year later it happens? I'm like, oh yeah. I started noticing that after my first really big awakening, and kind of goes, what do you mean? So I said, the first time I noticed it was when we were watching Brad Pitt's movie Fight Club. And he goes, okay. And I went with my girlfriend, and towards the end of the movie, they showed them blowing up the buildings. And he goes, yeah. And I go, I somehow knew this wasn't just a movie. They were telling us this is what we're going to do. So I leaned over and I told my girlfriend, I whispered in her and said, hey, they're going to blow up some buildings on the East Coast or maybe New York or the New York area. She goes, how do you know? And I pointed at the buildings in the movie we were at. I said, they just showed us. And she goes, oh, okay. So sure enough, 9/11 came along and they blew up the Twin Towers, etc., etc. So he went on to share all these other things, that these cartoons or movies, and then sure enough, it would happen. I was like, yep, I remember seeing that, and I remember seeing that. So this is something that you can look on YouTube. Now here's the deal. It'd be one thing if it only happened once or twice, but this has been going on for decades now. One TV show is South Park. Now they have made a lot of shows about a lot of things happening, and then sure enough, they happen. So what this guy was saying was this: we are the manifestors. They can't manifest without us. So what they do is go. So the way that how do I explain? So the way you want to create like anything in the world, if you can get enough people together to watch the same thing and make it dramatic and emotional, because emotions are what create it and make it happen faster, okay? So if you put people in a scary movie or an exciting movie or romantic and this and that, the emotions get going, and when they're showing you on the TV or on the movie screen, you are the ones that are actually manifesting it into the world. Without you, they can't do any of this. So a long time ago during a hypnosis seminar, this was one of the 5-week trainings I went to, and I think the hypnosis part was 10 days if I remember right. So this was the the certification for becoming a master hypnotherapist. And they started explaining how hypnosis works, and they were teaching us swish patterns and all this stuff. I'm like, wait a minute, that's what we do on our computer. Like, yeah, that's how you make changes. Well, that's the NLP part. But then when they got to the hypnosis part, I was like, wait a minute, that's what TVs do to us. And Dr. Tad James looks at me, because I raised my hand. He goes, yeah. I go, that would mean TVs are hypnosis devices. He goes, exactly. Now, he never brought it up. He didn't hint around. I just started thinking about it. I go, so that means we're getting hypnotized by television and movies. He's like, yep, exactly. So I was about 25 years old when I learned this, and I was like, oh, screw that. First thing I do when I get home from this training, I'm getting rid of my television. And I did, and I've never had one since. And you know what I noticed after about 4 weeks? My anxiety went away. Now, there's a little caveat to this. So my sister comes over about, 6 months later out of the blue, and she goes, where's your TV? And like, kind of like shocked, I don't know how to explain, like she was scared, oh my God. And I'm like, well, I got rid of it. She goes, why would you do that? I'm like, because I don't like it. And I tried to explain the hypnosis effect and all that, and how they're literally using, by the way, when I learned NLP techniques for therapy, etc., TV commercials are using NLP and hypnosis techniques on you. They're using submodality shift, they're using anchors, they're using swish patterns, they're doing reframes, they're doing all kinds of stuff. And I was like, what? So when I was going through these trainings for like that first year or two, I was seeing this everywhere. And I remember going back to another training saying, hey, I got to ask you a question. And he's like, yes, that's what we've been telling you. I was like, oh, geez, we are highly influenced and brainwashed. So long story short, what I'm trying to say is that they're very aware that we're the manifestors, and they are not. So if they can get us into a room with more than one person, like that biblical verse, like if 2 or 3 or more gather in my name, I will be in their midst. That's King James Version. I will be in their midst. It means your prayers will come true. Well, prayer doesn't mean you have to get on your knees and put your hands together. A prayer could be just one way that I'll manifest money is I will talk to people about money. Like, hey, talk business and talk shop, and it's like, yeah, you know what I noticed? When I do this and that, and boom, sure enough, the phone will start ringing, emails will come in, book sales will start happening. It's really obvious. So whenever I get someone in my life and they start talking about money and making sales and how do you do your business, what do you do, I start to grin. They're like, what's so funny? I'm like, oh, nothing, because I know clients, money, and sales are going to start coming in. It has become so obvious over the last 3 decades. It's not even funny. I didn't get on my knees and pray. I didn't do some special thing. We didn't go, hey, let's pray together. No, we just talked. It literally comes down to this one sentence. You get what you focus on, so focus on what you want. That's it, period. Whether you're looking at a magazine, watching a movie, talking to a friend about a subject, you're going to get what you're talking about. You're going to get what you're looking at. You're going to get what you're focusing on. Period, end of sentence. That's the way it works. So I had this client years ago who I taught this to, and I really taught it to him because he would always say, well, I don't want. I'm like, so that's what you're going to get. He goes, what? See, you also get what you don't want because you're focusing on it. Well, I don't want to crash. Well, then don't focus on it. Focus on what you want. What do you want? Well, I want to get there safely. Then focus on that because that's what you'll create. So a couple of years went by, and I've really hammered this into him. Then I remember one day he just looked at me and says, well, I'm just afraid I'm going to disappoint you. I'm like, really? After everything we've gone over, so that's what you're focused on? He goes, well, yeah. I go, and that's exactly what you've been creating, haven't you? And he thought about it. He goes, oh my God. Because he would always do the stupidest things. And by the way, I do believe you're listening to this. I'm pointing this out because I think if you hear it through a video, you're finally going to get what I've been trying to tell you for years. You get what you focus on, so focus on what you want, not what you don't want. And that's the mistake most people do. Is like, oh, well, I don't want to get hurt. I don't want to lose my money. And all of those things happen. You need to focus on what you want because you get what you focus on. What you think about, you get. What you read about, you get. What magazines you look about is what you get. What you read, what you watch, what you listen to, what you hear. If you're listening to a song that says I'm a filthy rag, even though it's a Christian song, and I'm just being pious and I'm just being this egotistical, humble person, you really gotta pay attention to the lyrics of words that you're listening to. If they're sad, if they're depressing, that's gonna make you sad and depressing. If it's about divorce, if it's about failure, all that stuff's going to happen in your life. It's programming it into your mind. That's why I took a really strong turn about a year ago, maybe 9 months ago on this channel. I want this to be an uplifting channel. I don't want it to. I do know we needed to learn about narcissist abuse. I had to get the message across. Get away. So once you have the learnings, it's like, yeah, it's time now to turn your focus towards the light. Start having fun, start being happy, start talking about positive things. So even when I do bring up narcissist abuse, I bring it up in a more empowering way for you. Another way you can do it, there's 3 books I'm going to recommend. Number 1, The Magic of Believing by Claude M. Bristol. CLAUDEM space Bristol, BRISTOL. Another one is Tony Robbins' book, Awaken the Giant Within. Another book is Resurrection by Neville Goddard. Neville is Neville. So on the front it says Neville and then Resurrection. RESURRECTION. So Resurrection by Neville. Start putting good stuff in. I promise you, it will pay off. Here's the thing. I don't read like this book. I'm going to reread again. I don't read it just once. But what I'm going to do right now, I'm going to start reading it, but I'm going to focus on one thing that I want to manifest. So as I read it, I'm going to go into it emotionally. I'm going to really feel what I'm reading, and I'm going to focus on what it is that I want to have. Okay guys, I've got a request. So number 1, just so you know, there's a donation link by PayPal in the description box down below, okay? Number 2, if you can take any of my videos and post them on your social media, I would really, really appreciate it, like Twitter or X, Pinterest or anything that you can, okay? Help get the word out. Especially if it's a video that really impacted you, a video that I did very well, that you very much liked. Alright, so the last piece to this whole thing. So, for those of you who've dealt with narcissists, there's a reason why they picked you and chose you to be in their life. Because it's exactly like the elite. Elite essentially they are narcissists. They are demonic narcissists, like the demonic narcissist that you dealt with. They know that you are the manifester. So if they can bring you into their life, they can begin to get their business off the ground, their life off the ground, their social life, even their dating life, okay? Even though they're dating you, okay? So your energy is how they're manifesting all this stuff. So when you leave a narcissist, their whole world crumbles because they weren't living off of their energy. It wasn't off of their manifestation. It was off of yours. That's why you felt so drained, and that's why they felt so alive. You are the manifester, so start manifesting what you want. Cut negative people out of your life and only allow goodness in your life, and watch what happens. Hey, this is Mike Kollin at MikeKollin.com. If you like this video, please click subscribe, click the like button, go ahead and make a comment. God bless you guys. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.